Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Hot Corner. I'm your host, Brandon Magown, and I'm joined here today by Harrison Duhr. We are back for our first episode of the semester, and with pitchers and catchers reporting just last week and the rest of the squad reporting just days later, we are officially underway. It is baseball season, which means we are that much closer to opening day.
I am pumped, my friend. Absolutely pumped.
Me too. All right, well, let's get started. We know it's all just a matter of time until pitcher Cole Hamels is traded. But did the Phillies wait too long to trade him, and is value decreasing the longer they wait? Harrison?
Absolutely. He came out last week and said, I want to win right now. This is the time for me. I'm in the prime of my career. He even flat out said, I'm not going to win in Philadelphia. And that is a very bold statement.
Yeah.
So they know he's not happy there. You know what? Other teams know he's not happy there. So because of that, there's more pressure on the Phillies to get rid of him. And that means that kind of correlates to other teams not having to give up as much because they realize if the Phillies don't get rid of Cole Hamels, one, they'll get a guy who's not happy. And two, they'll be stuck with him and pay for a guy who's truly an ace, a left-handed ace, and they really don't need him right now because they're in rebuilding mode.
Yeah, I mean, I have to disagree. I don't think that his value has decreased too much yet. I think we all thought he was going to be traded over the winter meetings. But on the offseason, on the hot stove. We all heard the Padres are going to be on him, the Red Sox, which they still are. Other teams, even the Cardinals, maybe.
Well, less teams are in on him now that Shields, Scherzer, and Lester have all been signed. That's the problem.
But I don't think his value decreased too much because he's still one of the best left-handed pitchers in the game. His contract, 4 years, about $90 million, he would get way more than that if he was a free agent now. So I don't think he loses too much. I think the Phillies, they have until about the trade deadline to trade him before they start losing most of his value because with the big free agent market next season for the starting pitching in 2015, there's a lot of guys and teams aren't going to have to give up prospects. But it does come down to Ruben Amaro, who I think he's in pursuit of the perfect trade because this is make or break for him.
I mean, I was going to say Ruben Amaro has clearly done a great job the last few years. I know how happy you are.
I mean, I can't stand him. It's time for him to go. He's messed up every trade. We've gotten nothing back in return that has helped us so far in the trades in the past with the Victorino, the Pence, even the Cliff Lee deal a few years ago before we got him back. Those trades, those guys have not made an impact yet for the Phillies in the big leagues.
There's 2 points I want to bring up that you discussed, the Red Sox and waiting till the trade deadline. First, the Red Sox. They don't have that much more money anymore. Think about all the overhaul they did on their offense. They got 2 Cuban guys. They signed Pablo Sandoval. They signed Hanley Ramirez. They even signed like Justin Masterson to like a 1-year, $10 million contract. I don't think they can really afford Cole Hamels anymore. And the Cardinals, honestly, probably another potential suitor for Cole Hamels. They're pretty content right now with Adam Wainwright and all the young pitchers they have coming up with Michael Wacha and Carlos Martinez.
Yeah.
So after those 2 teams, I don't really think there's that many suitors. And if anything, you're not going to give up. Those teams aren't going to give up that much again. And then the trade deadline you brought up, that is such a risk. 1, he could get hurt. 2, because he's so unhappy there, his performance might be affected on the field. And 3, you just don't really know what to expect. That's way too long. You don't know what teams are going to be looking for. That's such a gamble. Why would you wait that long?
Well, because like I said, this is a make or break, trade for Amaro. He has to win on this trade. And so
you're not going to get the perfect trade if you wait too long. That's the problem.
I know, but I think the Red Sox are still the team that are in it for Hamels because they have so much offense right now. They have guys that they don't even know what to do with. There's no space for them.
They don't have prospects. Have an ace.
But
they don't have many
prospects. Well, actually, that's not true. They have a ton of great prospects. And
who would you take for Cole Hamels?
Well, the one guy the Phillies really want is the catching prospect Swihart. But the Red Sox are kind of holding off. But who knows? Maybe they go after and give him up to get Cole Hamels.
You can't just bank on the Red Sox, though, because they're in a win-now mode. And I guess Cole Hamels.
But spring training has just started. We all know injuries happen all the time in spring training.
Exactly. So if Cole Hamels gets hurt, then he's done. The longer you wait, the more risk you have.
He really hasn't gotten hurt too much in his career.
He's 31 though. He's got a lot of innings, a lot of strikeouts on that left arm of his.
Yeah.
It's
like I said,
it's
I think his value hasn't gone down until the trade deadline passes. Then we're talking a different story. But
we'll agree to disagree, my friend.
Let's move on a little bit. Let's move on to another starting pitcher in Matt Harvey. He'll be officially coming back this season, returning from Tommy John surgery. So with that in mind, is it a smart move for the Mets to maybe put an innings limit on him this season?
Absolutely, you have to. One. Yeah, everyone's going to say the whole Steven Strasburg thing.
That's what I was going to bring up.
I'm sure you were going to. I just knew it's inevitable. But the Mets have such depth in their rotation right now, even without Syndergaard starting in the majors and Rafael Montero, who's probably going to either be in the minors or be the bullpen. The Mets still have 6 starting pitchers including Harvey. They have Harvey, DeGrom, Wheeler, Colon, and Nice. And then Dylan G, who's, I don't know where he's going to fit since the Mets claim they're going to trade him. So that's 6 starting pitchers. Syndergaard makes 7. Montero makes 8. I don't want to lose Matt Harvey again. That was heartbreaking to lose him.
Yeah,
and it put them
because he was pitching so well before.
And it put the Mets a year behind in 2014. What the excitement and anticipation we're feeling now for 2015, we would have felt last year if Harvey was healthy. Especially with the emergence of DeGrom, that not really, even myself, I didn't see. I thought it was going to be Syndergaard, not DeGrom. But now we also have Syndergaard to look forward to. And I'm not saying like a huge inning limit. I'm saying maybe around the All-Star break. Skip a few starts. Yeah. I'm not saying shut him down for the postseason. Yeah, that's what they want to do. They don't want to do Strasburg and shut him down for the postseason. They want to shut him down midseason.
The GM, Sandy Alderson came out and said that if the Mets are in the playoffs, he wants Harvey to pitch.
Exactly.
So he said about 200 innings, including the postseason, is plausible. Mm-hmm. But even that, I mean, when do you shut him down? Because if you shut him down before the postseason. Yeah, but then maybe lose some sharpness, and then getting back going again. Then
he has August to get it back. Then. No, I think there's more of an potential for injury if he pitches a full season and the postseason.
But I'm saying
skip 2 starts.
But I never understand
5.
this thing with pitchers coming back from Tommy John surgery. He's had like about 16 months, longer than normal for people who come back from this injury. So he's well rested. I think that arm is
24. The Mets want to make sure they're doing absolutely the right thing, and they don't want to have themselves a Steven Strasburg case where. If the Nationals had him in 2012 in the postseason, they probably would have gone further.
Strasburg wanted to pitch, and it cost the Nationals their playoff run in 2012 because he didn't pitch.
Because they shut him down for the postseason. That's not what the Mets would do. Yeah. They would do the All-Star break, which is a much better approach.
But I just never understand
the All-Star break.
Who comes up with this number that says, all right, 200 innings is now the magic number. He's not going to get hurt if we do under 200 innings. I say, this injury can happen at any time.
What would you do, 250? I mean, what's your point there?
Well, I say, okay, maybe 250 is a little much. Let him do a full season, 230. Most people do 230. Let him go. If he reaches 200 and his arm is still fine, what's an extra 30 innings? I don't really see the point.
I'd say there's much more of a benefit of a reward than a risk with just giving him 2 starts off.
But okay, so
it allows Syndergaard.
For the Mets, their best chance to win is Harvey on the mound. Correct?
Agreed, but it allows Syndergaard a chance to make his major league debut. It allowed Dylan G to make a starter too.
Every start they can get from Harvey to win because that wild card, because they're not going to win the division, we don't think. So
the Nationals.
The wild card is gonna be tough. So every game is gonna matter.
But the thing
is,
skip
a few starts,
if we put in Syndergaard or Dylan G, they're not really spot starters. Syndergaard is a top of the line prospect, and Dylan G,
but he's
not on the same level.
He struggled last year in AAA.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Maybe allow him to make his major league debut, and hopefully it goes well. I believe it will. And if anything, Dylan G is a very safe bet to make a starter too. Yeah. He's had a couple of good seasons for the Mets. Yeah, Harvey's the better guy, but you got to look at the long-term picture here. Again, we wouldn't shut him down for the postseason if we're playing October baseball. We need to think long-term.
Last point. This came up with Adam Wainwright. I mean, they're talking about maybe limiting him for at least the spring, maybe not for the regular season. But he said he wants to make every start because every game matters. They just made the playoffs last year by 2 games. Yeah. So if he didn't pitch 2 games,
they also won the World Series in 2011 without Adam Wainwright even making a start.
Yeah,
so he does have injury history.
Every single year.
But he does have an injury history, so you can't really blame St. Louis for thinking that.
Exactly. All right, well, a good topic, something to keep our eye on as the season progresses. But that'll do it for our first segment. When we get back, we'll get into our rapid fire round. Stay with us. Welcome back to the Hot Corner. It's now time for our rapid fire round. We'll each get 3 questions and have 30 seconds to respond. So we're going to start with your questions. Reds pitcher Johnny Cueto, who will be a free agent after this season, has said that he would like a new contract before opening day. Should the Reds sign him to a long-term extension?
If they can afford him, absolutely. Yeah. I think he's going to get a $200 million contract personally. I'm not sure how many years, but definitely the number figure, $200 million, I think he deserves it. Yeah, he's had a little injury history, but the last 3 years, he's been a dominant pitcher, an absolutely dominant pitcher. Ever since he added that new little twist to his motion, I think they absolutely need to re-sign him before opening day. If not, he will probably walk away and go to a team like the Yankees, the Tigers, the Red Sox, a big market team that is going to be.
That contract.
Plus, he's in the prime of his career too.
He is. I mean, he would have won the Cy Young last year if it wasn't for Clayton Kershaw.
Absolutely.
And, I think if he doesn't get a contract by opening day, the Reds have to trade him.
I mean, look at Max Scherzer at the Tigers. How did that work out?
Exactly.
It was the beginning of the end, unfortunately.
I think they have to. They might even be regretting the Homer Bailey contract now, but
definitely.
We'll see. For your second question, and this pertains to your Mets.
Of course.
If David Wright isn't healthy again this season, does that diminish the playoff chances for the Mets?
It's going to hurt a lot. There's so many what ifs with the Mets, and David Wright's the biggest one this season after, then I think Curtis Granderson. But David Wright's number one. I'm hoping Kadire helps him at least mentally on the field. He's one of his best friends. He grew up with him in Virginia. He played, Little League with him up to high school ball. And if he's hurt, then I don't know what the Mets are going to do. They're going to seriously, there's no one they could really find to replace him. And they need his leadership, they need his ability, and they just need his bat and they need his glove.
They do.
Without him, they're not going to make the playoffs.
He's still under contract for a long time, so they need him to come back, very soon.
He's making a good amount of money.
Yeah, his power diminished last year, but he said he doesn't even care about the power. He just wants to drive the ball better, which he didn't do last year.
That's the thing. David Wright is at his best when he's not pulling the ball, when he's going the opposite field.
Yeah, he can hit the ball field. It doesn't even matter for him.
Yeah, well, he gets pull happy sometimes, and that's when he struggles.
The best hitters do.
Yeah.
All right, and for your final question, with all the moves that the Padres made this offseason, can they seriously compete with the Dodgers and the Giants in the NL West?
Not only can they seriously compete, I am picking them to win the NL West this year.
All right, that's a bold prediction.
It's a very bold prediction. I said it on a radio show. Now you guys are hearing it here on LTV. I truly believe they're going to win the NL West. Their outfield is ridiculous with Will Myers, Justin Upton, Matt Kemp, and then backups as in like Carlos Quinn and Will Venable. Yeah. That's incredible. Cameron Maben. They just signed James Shields to a very good rotation that includes Andrew Kashner, Tyson Ross, Ian Kennedy, thank you. They're taking a chance on both Josh Johnson and Brandon Morrow. Plus, their bullpen's dominant every year.
On paper, they look great. And you'll just have to see if everything clicks and if those guys live up to the potential. But they're going to be very exciting to watch.
Plus, I love Bud Black, too. I think he's a great manager.
He's a good manager.
And he's going to have fun with that group.
Yeah. All right, well, it's your time to ask me my rapid fire question.
Let's switch it on over. Brandon, for your first question, did the Red Sox overpaid or even need Yasani Makata?
Yohan Moncada.
It got cut off on the teleprompter.
All right.
I don't know these Cuban names as well as I should.
We only have 30 seconds, so let me get to it. But they probably did overpay for him, saying it was a $31.5 million bonus and including the 100% penalty, so it comes out to $63 million for this guy. He's only 19, but he's a switch hitter infielder, and he's compared to Robinson Cano. So
that's absurd.
They're saying he's a 5-tool player. If he lives up to the hype and can make it into the big leagues fairly soon, he's going to have a huge impact. And, the Red Sox, they don't really have a fit for him right now because of all the other guys like Hanley Ramirez, Pablo Sandoval, even Dustin Pedroia. But they will find a place for him if he can hit, and he's just going to be a great acquisition.
Yeah, Hanley Ramirez is in left field now, and according to MLB Network, the best left fielder in baseball. He hasn't played a game yet.
Exactly.
And also with Makata, it's interesting too because he's only 19 yet he'll be making millions of dollars. A 19-year-old here in America, he makes a couple $1,000s.
Yeah, the system is kind of broken. I think somebody should look into that.
That could definitely be a debate question for next time. Just how should that system be adjusted? Yeah. But anyway, your second question: where does Pirates' new Korean star Jung-Hoo Kang play if he has a successful spring?
2 names in a row. You got that one.
You gave me all the tough names there.
The tough names. But anyway, I think if he has a successful spring, they have to play him at short. The odd man out is probably Jordy Mercer. Obviously, they have Pedro Alvarez at first, Josh Harrison, who was great at third, and Neil Walker at second. But Jordy Mercer didn't really have a great year last year. Only had about 12 home runs. But they paid 16 overall for this guy, $5 million posting fee, and $11 million over 4 years for this guy. He, I know it was the KBO of the Korean League, but he had 40 home runs, like 117 games.
You can't ignore that.
If that power translates here, he's going to be great. And the Pirates, they're not a big market team. They need to use that money wisely, and they need to start him. So I say he gets the starting job.
And if he actually brings that power to PNC to fit in with Pedro Alvarez, Andrew McCutchen, and guys of that nature. Starling Marte. It's going to be great. It's exciting. And who's the other guy? Coffee Black.
Yeah.
Gregor Polanco.
Yeah.
Definitely a lot to look forward to in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
And now for your final question, Brandon, not going to mess up any names here, proud to say.
I don't think there are any names in this question.
So let's hope I can pronounce Cubs. And for your final question, do the Cubs have a legitimate shot of competing this year?
I think they do. I don't think they're going to win the Central like Anthony Rizzo came out and declared.
I agree with that.
But they have a ton of young players. I have the list right here. They're going to have, Anthony Rizzo, who's now the veteran, even though he's super young. Jorge Soler, Chris Bryant, who's the #2 prospect in baseball. Javier Baez, if he can cut down the strikeouts, he'll be very good.
But I like Baez a lot.
Starling Castro, Miguel Montero. They brought in Dexter Fowler. They have a lot of good guys. And then for the rotation, John Lester, Jake Arrieta, Jason Hamill. they're going to be a fun team. They have new manager.
Especially for you, since your team's going to suck.
I know. I'm looking forward to watching. They have Madden now at the helm. They just brought in Manny Ramirez to be like a hitting consultant.
Kevin Youkilis, too.
If those guys can live up to their expectations at least a little bit, I said they're going to be in the hunt come September.
Couldn't agree with you more. I'm actually worried about the Cubs competing with the Mets for one of those wild card spots, so it'll definitely be interesting.
Yeah. That's all that we have for Rapid Fire. After the break, we'll wrap things up with Coming At Ya. Stay with us. All right, welcome back. It's now time for Coming At You. We'll each ask each other a question made up on the spot. We'll have about a minute to respond. So, Harrison, we'll start with you. What's your question for me?
All right, Brandon. We talked a little bit about Cole Hamels and how he might get traded. Let's talk about another guy that might get traded, Andre Ethier. He came out and said, if I'm not starting, I don't want to play there. And there's a good chance he might not be starting again this year.
Yeah, he probably won't because, again, he's the odd man out. Last year, I thought that he deservedly so was the odd man out. They had a lot of guys, including Matt Kemp. But now that they traded Kemp and they have Jock Peterson, their #1 prospect, coming up, he's going to play center field. Carl Crawford's going to play left.
So Ethier's the odd man out.
And Puig is going to play right. So he's probably not going to win the starting job. He's going to want out.
Right. So my question to you is, what's the best possible landing spot for Andre Ethier?
I mean, you brought it up on our show earlier today. I think Baltimore is a good fit for him. I mean, they need to make some moves because they haven't really done anything this offseason because of the whole thing with GM Dan Duquette and with the Blue Jays. He wanted to go there. So he hasn't really been focused on his club and trying to make them better. But they lost a few guys. They lost Nick Markakis. They lost Nelson Cruz.
It's a lot of offensive production.
They lost a lot of offense in that outfield. So they need guys. Adam Jones can't carry that entire offense by himself. So
plus Wieters is coming off an injury. We don't know what to expect from him.
And Machado's coming off an injury. So you don't know what you're going to get from Chris Davis. So they need some offense. Ethier, when given the at-bats, he can be a solid fit, have some pretty good production. So I think the Dodgers might have to throw in some money because he has 3 years, $55 million left in that contract. But with the Dodgers, I really don't think that's a problem.
Plus, you talked about the Dan Duquette thing. That was their biggest offseason focus, a very negative focus, absolutely. And then after that, they signed like Travis Snyder and just recently Everett Cabrera. It's been a very minimal offseason.
They brought back Delman Young, who's probably just going to be a DH, can't play the outfield.
They need to make a splash for their fans. Those fans deserve it, especially after winning the AL East last year. Make some sort of move.
Because that division is still wide open. I know that the Red Sox look favored to win, but it's still open because they don't have pitching. Yeah.
Absolutely.
But all right, we'll get into your question now. What are your thoughts on the Tigers bringing back Jabba Chamberlain?
That's my thought. It is 1 year, $1 million, but I just don't see a place for him in the bullpen currently. I love every other bullpen move they made thus far this offseason. Alex Wilson from the Red Sox with Yoenis Cespedes was a great move. Tom Grossolani had a great year in Milwaukee. Joakim Soria, he wasn't great last year at all, but he was hurt. He even came out and said, I wasn't at 100%. I just really wanted to make the playoffs and just try and give it my all. And clearly it wasn't the right thing for him because he was so dominant in the AL Central, actually, with Kansas City, even a couple of years in Texas. Joe Nathan, Lord knows what we'll get, but we still have guys like Albuquerque and Ian Kroll, who I like a lot.
I mean, the Tigers' bullpen has always been their Achilles heel. They seem to upgrade a little bit this offseason.
No, I mean, Bruce Rondon's coming back, too, who throws about 100 to 102 miles per hour when healthy. He's kind of very similar to Joel Zumaya, if you remember him from 5-6 years ago. A flamethrower, but could just never, ever stay healthy. But to put Jabba Chamberlain in perspective and, the impact he had on the Tigers, the first half, not too bad. It actually exceeded my expectations. Second half, the fatigue set in. By the postseason, Game 2 of that ALDS,
he was
it was 6-3 Tigers in the 8th in Baltimore. When he came into the game, every Baltimore fan got on their feet, gave him a standing ovation because they knew how bad he's been, and he proved them right. He blew the lead. He got an even bigger standing ovation leaving that game.
They did say that I think that his struggles in the second half were some personal problems. So hopefully that's cleared up now.
Yeah, it's only $1 million, so worst case scenario.
And if he doesn't do well, they designate him for assignment
by May or June or something.
All right, well, that'll do it on the Hot Corner. We'll be back soon. But in the meantime, if you're interested in joining LTV, like us on Facebook or email us at ltv@tcnj.edu. For Harrison Duhr, I'm Brandon Magown. Have a good one.